Hi, I'm Mark Beck.
And I'm Stephanie Thompson.
And I'm Meghan Salois. We're with Remax Glacier Country, and we're here coming to you from Sunset Plaza in Kalispell, Montana.
And this is Selling Montana, a podcast about business, entrepreneurship, and real estate. And today's episode is sponsored by Wintrust Mortgage. We are so blessed to have a representative from Wintrust Mortgage with us today. Mark, care to introduce yourself?
Yep, I'm good morning. Mark Delorme from Wintrust Mortgage here in Kalispell. So great to be here.
Fantastic.
Thank you for having me.
Thanks for being here.
Thanks for being here.
You're welcome.
And for your sponsorship.
Yeah, of course.
Thank you.
Awesome.
Yeah, so Mark, you've been in the mortgage business for quite a few years. The name sounds like the name's changed over the years with the company just once, but why don't you just tell us a little bit about your history with mortgage?
Yeah, so I got into mortgages out of college. Ski bummed it around for a little bit. Wasn't always in origination, but started in compliance, and then got into origination in the early 2010s, and here we are.
Where'd you go to college?
San Diego State.
Oh,
Yeah,
fun.
down in San Diego. So
Fun. Okay.
Yeah.
I was wondering if you were going to say a Grizz or Bobcat or not.
No.
So
Oh,
I got
Don't go there
We're
with
figuring out if we
Stephanie.
have to kick you out or
No,
not.
I saw that in a previous episode. No, you're safe with me.
perfect. Yeah. So you correct me if I'm wrong, but I remember off camera we were talking about your mortgage company before you were Wintrust. Tell us just a little bit about that.
Yeah, so my dad started American Homestead Mortgage back in the 90s. Their office was actually under your guys's back in the day. I used to come get lunch money from him.
oh,
In this very building.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
And so for the first few years I originated, we were American Homestead Mortgage, and we were brokers. He got sick in the late 2010s and luckily made it through. He got diagnosed with a disease called idiopathic pulmonary fibrosis, which it's a pretty serious lung issue.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, so he privately listed our business, and within a matter of weeks, we were Wintrust Mortgage. So with that came a lot of change that we embraced, but it also brought a lot of good things. So technology, product portfolio, support, all the good stuff that comes with a big national bank buying you.
Yeah. Having that national level makes a big difference for you.
Yeah, absolutely. Being able to lend in all 50 states and, having some portfolio products that you hold on your books allows you to be, especially in this market, creative and do some things that other people can't. So,
Yeah, definitely. Why don't you tell us a little bit about your abilities that other people don't, like the ability to lock rates?
yeah. So as we were talking about before we started, we can lock rates up to a year out.
Up to a year.
Up to a year out, yeah. And in this interest rate environment, where have rates been? Where are they now? Where are they going? I think those are big questions in the back of people's minds. So being able to lock in at a current rate, whether you're doing a new construction project or in longer escrow is a big advantage. And it takes a lot of stress out of people's, decision in getting a mortgage.
So I was just going to ask if you could do it for all. You and I talked about a construction loan. You can lock it for a year, but
up to a year out.
But is that for all of your loans that you can?
It's for all of our conventional products.
Okay.
Yeah.
Very nice.
Yeah.
And then if things, I don't really anticipate rates to go down, but if things did change and they were locked in, you can float that, you said. So
yeah. If you're, if we're locking you at 5.5% today, you build your house a year down the road, we're within 30 days of closing, we start looking at rates and we can float you down for free.
Wow.
Yeah, to current market conditions. So if rates, go down to 4%, your rate's going to be 4%.
Wow. Yeah, that's a major advantage.
It is.
Deal.
Yeah, really is.
yeah.
So just curious, like where with incoming loans, new loans with the market, I mean, are you seeing a little bit of a slowdown? I know we were talking about the MLS meeting this morning. There was 9 listings on tour today, and how many realtors?
Like 45.
Yeah.
40.
So
Yeah.
backtrack a year ago, that wasn't even the case. There was nothing on
Nothing
tour,
to tour.
and no realtors at the tour,
Yeah.
right?
No. The whole place was full.
Yeah, the ground is shifting. I think we
Yeah.
can all feel it, and I think
Yeah.
we could feel it coming, maybe a month ago. And so I try and look at where have we been, where are we now and where are we going? Where have we been? Obviously, we were in a pandemic. And during the pandemic, a lot of stimulus money was given out, a lot of small business loans. Combine that with the Federal Reserve buying U.S. Treasuries and mortgage-backed securities at a rate we've never seen to prop up the economy, really lowered the price of money. The economy was very liquid, and so we just saw this run on real estate. To current times, I think the big word is, inflation. The Feds are trying to get a hold of that, and they're going to, slowly increase money, which we've seen hit interest rates. And, so you're going to pay more for your mortgage right now than you did last year.
Yeah. That's going to translate to housing prices, though, right?
That's the big question. Yeah.
We talked about, sorry, go ahead.
I was just going to say we're in this weird time where we still have a big housing shortage. Rates have gone up. There's still a lot of demand for housing, but, we've experienced a lot of housing appreciation in the last couple of years. So, the average family can't afford to buy $1 million starter home
Right.
at a 5.5% interest rate. So we've got this, we're in a weird pickle.
Definitely.
Yeah. When everybody asks what's going to happen, it's like it's kind of hard to say because there's still all this demand, but then rates are high, so affordability is down. So it is a weird position to be in, and hard to say what's going to happen.
Yeah, and something that that we talked about when we were at R4 and RE/MAX's projections that they were showing us is that homes have, affordability is actually very high for current homeowners. So I think that's our market change. You're going to see less new first-time home buyers. Most of your buyers are going to be already own a home. They're selling, cashing in their equity and moving up or moving down, downsizing.
Or getting a second home.
Yeah.
100%. If you're comparing rates to this time last year to now, on a $300,000 mortgage, your payment is about a little over $400 a month higher.
Wow.
On a $500,000 loan, last year's rates to today's rates, your payment is about $700 a month higher.
Wow.
So
That's
that really
significant.
impacts what people can afford and their decision.
When you factor that now it costs over $100 to fill up the tank in your truck.
Right.
Yeah.
Your
You go
Costco
to the grocery
bill.
store. Yeah.
We're spending like over $200 a week in groceries, and we're just a family of 3.
Mm-hmm.
Life's expensive.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. The squeeze is going to have an effect somewhere, And
But we also have to remember that interest rates are not as high as they were even when my husband and I got married in 2009. They were like 10%, somewhere in there, 9%. Yeah. So
They're not.
Some of them.
And interest rates are cyclical. So, we're going to see them go up. We're going to see them come down. Hopefully we see a retracement. Everything's priced into our market ahead of time these days. When the Feds even mention or think about doing something and they touch on it, it gets priced into our market right away. So
what that means is banks start raising rates prior to the Fed actually making those actions. Am I right?
sort of, yeah. And so
Okay.
you have your Fed fund rate, which is not mortgage interest rates, although they do move in parallel over time. It's that's the rate that banks borrow at overnight for one another.
Okay.
And then you have mortgage interest rates, which are controlled by mortgage bonds, mortgage-backed securities, and they're starting. The Federal Reserve is going to start unloading their balance sheet. They've been holding all these on their balance sheet in the form of assets, and when those come back into the open market, there might not be as many buyers. We could see rates go up a little more. We might see them retrace. I think it's a huge question that we don't have an answer to, but it's going to start happening next week. So,
Wow.
yeah.
So
Put your seatbelts on.
There's going to be more change. Yeah.
Put your seatbelts on. I think that the good thing is people always pay the going price for money. If you want to buy a house, you don't have a choice. And I think, you'll see consumers adjust to the higher rates.
Yeah. Inevitably, and like you said earlier, it just takes time for them to adjust to the rates. And
It does.
It's they kind of you have to get over the fear and the sticker shock of, my mortgage is 6% now. That's what it's going to be. Do you do much in the commercial way of
None.
things? None.
No.
Okay. You're just solely residential.
Solely residential. Yeah.
Okay.
One interesting thing you brought up to me earlier. We were talking about supply and demand, and you were sharing some stats of like the number of homes that were built in the previous few decades. So if you could touch on that, I thought that was really interesting.
We still have a lot of catching up to do as far as inventory and new construction. In the 1990s, I think there was close to 10 million homes built in the United States. In the in the 2000s, there was 11.5 million homes built in the United States. 2010, 6.5 million. So part of that has to do with 2008. People, consumer confidence wasn't there. But, it's challenging for builders right now. And I think, with rising rates and unavailability of, materials and labor, it's going to take a while to catch up, but it will eventually. Question is when. So,
yeah. And then couple that with land, land sales are, I don't know. When I got into the business, you could not sell land. It was so tough. It was selling for pennies is what it felt like. And now
everybody wants it.
Now everybody, they want it, they need it. Builders are looking for it. And I've had a couple builders reach out to me saying, hey, what do you have coming up for land? I've never had builders call me.
You're like, nothing.
I've had the same thing.
Yeah. So, everyone's scrambling to keep their people busy now. And
it's hard to build right now. And we do construction financing, a lot of borrowers by the end of their building process I'm never building again. That was the worst experience.
Don't tell me that. I want to plug my ears.
Yeah. I still think it's more affordable to buy existing than it is to build. So
yeah. I built 2 townhouses, and I think you just have to be your expectations, right? Like, you're not going to finish on time. It's going to be more expensive than you're initially quoted. And it's not going to look exactly how you envisioned it. The floor plan is going to feel different when it goes up and everything. And because it's, you go from paper to in real life. And so it's just managing that expectation. And I'm the kind of person that I can do that fine, but some people are like, I know they're like freaking out through the process, and it's like, there's no way, it was only supposed to be this and it was supposed to look like that. So buildings, you have to be, I can't think of the word, but open-minded and easily satisfied.
Proactive.
Oh my gosh.
Well, and then if you locked your rate in for a year, you wouldn't be worrying about that.
Yeah, hopefully that takes some of the stress out of it for you. So
yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
So you were telling me there's still, even amidst all this craziness, some reason for optimism, and you shared some cool stats about leverage. So you want to share those? Yeah.
So we're coming out of a year where housing appreciation has just gone through the roof. I think year over year we're up 21%. Anticipated rate of return this year 6%. So what does that mean for a person buying a $400,000 home? If they put 10% down, $40,000, and they get a rate of return of 6%, that's $24,000. When you factor in the leverage of a mortgage, your return on investment's close to 60%.
Yeah, that's fantastic.
Yeah.
That's
really good.
That's good optimism. That's something to think of and know that real estate is still a great investment.
It is, and there's a lot of first-time home buyers out there. My recommendation to them is do whatever you can to get in the housing market. If you have to scratch, claw, do whatever you can, because at the end of the day, it's going to be, probably the biggest investment you ever make and the best. So
yeah. Best way to build wealth.
That's exactly how I think we all had to do it, was scratch and claw. And
oh yeah.
It's better than paying somebody else's mortgage.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yep.
Absolutely. Cool. Thanks for sharing that.
Yeah, you're welcome. How's you guys' year this year compared to last year? What are you guys seeing?
Just, I think a slowdown,
Yeah.
like with sellers, even, like sellers I've been talking to since January, February, reaching out like, hey, we're going to sell, when should we do it? And, then in January, February, you're like, oh yeah, put it on, we're going to get multiple offers and it's going to go way above ask. And then, those sellers waited 6 to 8 weeks or, whatever, it's been 3 months, to list. And now we're just seeing, stuff sitting for 15 to 30 days kind of seems.
The nationwide average is like 25 to 35 days.
So
Mhm.
just
the
seems
market
of,
before it goes under contract.
yeah, price, a few more price reductions, just not as many bidding wars. So there's
Gotcha.
definitely a shift happening, I think. So
Yeah.
I don't know about you
I
guys.
think our transaction count for the brokerage even and for like most all the agents is like on par with what
Yeah.
it was last year.
Mhm.
But I don't know if I see that continuing through the summer. Like I don't think we're going to do the same
Yeah.
volume that we did for June,
Yeah.
July,
In the
August.
fall, for sure. I don't.
Yeah. And most of typically with realtors, like our biggest segment is like third and fourth quarter. Like that's
Mhm.
where you make most of your money. Like
Mhm.
first quarter is really slow.
Right. Especially
So-
in Montana, the winter.
Yeah.
and-
Our
Especially
first quarter was pretty busy though as a brokerage.
it
seemed
like
yeah.
and like I said, it stayed on par with what last year was,
Mhm.
but I don't think third and fourth
I
quarter
agree,
are
yeah.
gonna. Yeah.
No,
Rates were low in the first quarter.
that's
They
very
were.
true.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When you were
Very
saying
true.
that what takes people on average like 6 months, you said, to kind of adjust to new rates.
Typically, I
so-
think that's the rule of thumb.
yeah.
So,
Wow.
everyone was really used to this low interest rate environment, and we knew it was going to change
Yeah.
someday. And now that it has, I think there's a little FOMO for people who missed out on housing.
yeah.
Missed out on locking
Well,
at 2.25.
Yeah,
Yeah,
'cause-
those rates are gone.
Because
I
Yeah.
rates have been low like that since what? Because I was in mortgage back in 2012, I think it was, and back then rates were down in like the low threes. Right?
Yeah, after
Wasn't-
2008, rates dropped.
So I mean,
and
for 10 years we've had these like
a low interest rate environment.
crazy historically low
Mhm.
rates, and now that's changing. So yeah,
Yeah, pre-pandemic, people were, high threes, low 4s,
Mhm.
depending on what you were doing. And as soon as the pandemic hit, everybody refinanced.
yeah,
Because there
I
was a
remember that.
huge net tangible benefit to refinancing, especially if you were staying in the house for a while. So,
Yeah. Yeah, I locked those two townhomes I built in 2018. I locked them at, I think my investment property was like 5.8 and my primary was like 4.8. It was like a 1 point spread.
Yeah.
And it's like obviously during the pandemic, it was like,
Yeah.
okay, like I'm going to refinance and cut the rates in half,
Right.
Yeah,
And-
didn't they kind of start to tick up before the pandemic?
They
And then
did.
the pandemic hit, and it was like, oh, never mind.
they did a little
Yeah.
bit. Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah, interesting. Do rates typically follow like what's going on with the economy, or is there kind of a rule of thumb there? Or
Yes and no.
Okay.
There's so much economic information that goes into pricing interest rates these days. It really has to do with mortgage bonds, the coupon price of those bonds, and how they're being traded. And they're traded on Wall Street. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah,
so
would be-
sometimes when the stock market's doing really bad, which it has been,
Mm-hmm.
people take their money out of stocks, they put them into bonds. That lowers interest rates. to
right.
the
So when people
consumer.
are buying mortgage bonds and mortgage-backed securities, that brings rates down. Correct.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's a whole big world.
Yeah,
to
that's
delve into.
that's capital market stuff that I don't.
Yeah.
I know just enough to
Yeah.
just
Oh, I
enough
know.
about it to get myself in trouble. So
Yeah, it can be
Yeah,
confusing.
I read it and it goes over my, like, unless you're in the mortgage business or you're in that
Or investing.
that investing in it. Yeah. That's,
yeah, unless you speak mortgage.
yeah, different language for sure.
That's, I don't speak that language.
Yeah.
I'm just kidding.
You're going to.
Kind of. Yeah.
Oh, well,
Yeah, perfect. Well, if that's it, thank you very much. I mean, I think it was very informative.
Yeah.
It's we'd love to obviously have you back, and
Anytime. I'd love to be here. I like what you guys are doing, and I wish you a great rest of the year. I'll come back anytime. Looking forward to sponsoring future
Yeah.
podcasts. And
thank
Yeah.
you.
yeah,
Thank
thank
you
you
so
very much
much.
for your sponsorship.
Yeah.
And we'll
Check out Wintrust Mortgage.
Yeah.
we're gonna keep an eye on rates, and we'll have you back as soon as there's more changes.
yeah, sounds
Yeah.
great. Thanks for having me, guys.
Thank you.
Thank
Thanks.
you.
And please do hit that subscribe button. We really appreciate that.